You could be right and I could be wrong. We could just fight or we could...
This is Bridge the Gap, the program that seeks for the truth no matter where it is found. I'm Mark.
And I'm David.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. We've got Adam Reed with us here today for our second interview.
How's it going?
Good. And David, you're here with us to participate this time.
Yep.
For everybody's benefit, the last time you did your first interview was about a month ago?
Yeah, I think so.
I think because today's, July 30th? And it would have been right at the beginning of July when we did your first interview, right?
Yeah, I think so.
When we did your first interview, I remember talking to Cindy the next day. You were reflective and contemplating some of the things that we'd gone over in the interview with her. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
How was that going?
Going? Not well. You say things and you're not heard.
It seemed like to me that Cindy was focused on the drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying there were a lot more things than that.
Yeah, it's much bigger than that. I've been dealing with this since I was 5 or 6. In Cindy's case, it's hard for her to see past the addiction. You know, everything comes down to that one thing. You know, that's it. You fix that, everything else is taken care of. You're golden. And it's not how it works. I mean, there's much more to it than that, especially now. You know, being my age and dealing with all the physical illnesses and disabilities and, you know, mental illness that I deal with. I mean, there's a lot more going on than just simple addiction, not to minimize, you know, what addiction is, but you know, it's obviously a huge bear, but there's more to my struggles than just addiction.
If I recall, you mentioned something to the effect of it would be easier for you to be homeless than not to have direction in your life.
Yeah. Something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words, but...
And I think Cindy said nobody would want to be homeless. To help the listeners understand what you meant by that.
Well, just Cindy was pointing out that I should be content with, you know, I have a house, you know, I have a place to stay, I have a safe place, I have food, you know, I have doctors that I can get transported to. But there's a lot more to life than that. You know, I mean, you hear stories about the richest people in the world are some of the most miserable, right? They have everything, you know, as far as material wealth goes, and they're miserable. It's because I don't know why, but I know in my case it would be because I don't have direction. You know, why am I here? You know?
Yeah.
Why am I here? You know, and I struggle with that every day. Last few days in particular.
We're 30 days past that first interview. What was the last 30 days like? Did it get better?
It did for a time. You know, it did for a time. It's a roller coaster with me. It seems like as soon as I hit that high, you know, of like I feel good, I feel confident about where I'm at, or not where I'm at, but more the direction that I'm headed. I wake up and it's like, you know, bumping your head on the ceiling, you know, and you get this wicked bump and you got to deal with this wicked bump all day that, you know, all you did was wake up, you know, and mine is depression and dealing with the fact that when I wake up, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to struggle through the day and be at home, and that's it.
And you talked to me today about possibly wanting to check yourself into the uni.
Mm-hmm.
For the listeners who don't understand, what's the uni?
It's a mental health facility. It's an inpatient treatment center.
And it's because you've been struggling with suicidal ideation, right?
Yeah. It's more passive suicidal ideation right now rather than, you know, like full blown, like, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. It's more, passive suicidal ideation. It's more hoping that you're going to die in your sleep. You're going to get cancer. You know, maybe if I don't manage my blood sugars, I'll go into a coma and die. That's the kind of suicidal ideation I've been experiencing the last couple of days. But that always turns into something else.
Uh-huh.
You know, it always turns into that fixation of how am I going to do it?
You had mentioned that you were in the last hour and a half on a suicide
chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never done that before. I don't know. It was kind of like a, you know, I don't know, last resort kind of a thing for me before I cross into that active suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
Just to see what's out there, you know, just to see what kind of support there is, you know, but it was more, you know, a room full of people who had already decided that they're going to kill themselves, and they were more interested in knowing how you're going to do it rather than what are you struggling with, you know, hang in there, bud, you know.
Do you think it was helpful?
No.
It was more like a depressing place to
Yeah,
go?
because everybody's there for their own selfish reasons. I mean, they're not there to support other people. They're there to get support, but nobody's there to support them,
Mhm.
you know, is what I found out real quickly. They're more interested in how you're going to do it. Have you tried before? What did you do before and why didn't it work?
Hmm.
You know, so I just I talked a little bit, but I mostly listened to the flow of the conversation.
I mean, I'm not an expert for sure, but it would seem like the uni would be a more safe place than that chat room.
Yeah.
Just from my layperson's observation here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, as far as like your immediate safety goes, yeah, but it's not going to do any good. I mean, I know what I need. I just can't get there.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Just a purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, you know, a reason to, you know, something to look forward to the next day. Because for me right now, it's when I go home tonight, I know I'm going to lay in bed. I'm going to wake up with disturbed sleep from nightmares that are very vivid. I'm going to fall back asleep. I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to get sick in the middle of the night. So I'm going to struggle with sleep all night. And then the whole time lingering in the back of my mind is tomorrow's going to be just like today, but it's probably going to be a little bit worse. And it progresses to that, you know, it progresses to a little bit worse. It's very incremental.
So I have a question. When you were more healthy back in the day, what were like your strong, like what do you say you're good at?
I was always really athletic.
Because you're really smart too.
Yeah, I did well in school. You know, I was Dean's List, you know, earned a tuition waivers for grad school. You know, last semester I had the car wreck, bruised my brain, lost all that. You know, I was always good with people. You know, I was good around people.
Because what if your purpose is to help us take this podcast to the world?
It worries me if it ever got to that point, you know what I mean? Because I know what my history is, you know, I know the people I've affected, you know, the dangerous situations I was in and created for myself and my family. And having my name out there is kind of scary because people hold grudges. But I don't know. I don't know who I'd affect because I feel like I'm not in a good space to affect anybody other than in a negative way. I was telling Mark when we were going down to get a Coke before we came here, it's like, sorry, Mark, you know, you're driving me to get a Coke. And, you know, I feel like a thorn, you know, on people's sides.
Dave, is the reason you brought that up because you're trying to suggest a purpose to Adam?
Yeah. And one that just, I feel like we're all sitting in this room for a reason. The podcast was originally you two. Like,
yeah,
the
we
YouTube
talked
channel.
about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
It was you two. And then I got involved. And so to me, it's just like, because here's the thing. When I listened to your first one, you have had so many miracles in your life. Like God has shown you some really cool stuff. You know God's there, whether I could see why maybe you're not happy with him right now or something. I wouldn't be if I were you, but you know he's there. Join us on this mission of like pushing this thing forward.
Well, that's just it. I mean, if you hadn't come in the picture, it would have fizzled out unless Mark had the wherewithal to put it all together by himself because I didn't have the motivation to do it because I just know where I'm at right now. You know, mentally, I just feel like I don't have the intestinal fortitude to see it through, you know, the wherewithal to see it through.
So you are in such a dark place, which is a blessing for those other people that are in a dark place because you can help this podcast speak to those people that are struggling where you're at right now. And then as we push the podcast forward, you're continually, hopefully, making strides, maybe falling back, moving forward, falling back, moving forward. And like the podcast shows that it, you know, helps people see, oh man, they heard the first one where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Like take that dark place. And if you're okay with it, I mean, we have you on, and I know Mark for a reason. And so, and let's like middle of the night, you're up, whatever. Put your thoughts into like, because I'm starting to think about it more. I was talking to Mark, like, how can we get this in front of people? Who needs to hear it? Where do we need to get it? What do we need to talk about? What are the topics, you know, just for people about to commit suicide? What do they need to hear? You know, and like spend time I'm just suggesting.
Right. And
the only reason I would do that is because like I can see the fact that your brain works so well, this messed up with stuff. When this stuff is gone, dude, you're a powerful individual. You honestly are. I can feel it now, and that's even clouded with all the stuff.
Really?
Oh, 100%. You're sharp. You're keen. You're in the moment. Like you have a gift. You really do. And if you can see that when you're struggling right now, imagine when you're not struggling. Like I think.
Yeah, when you're struggling like this, you don't see anything good. You know, I mean, you try to, But the things that I see good are outside of me. I mean, they're never within. You know, they're never like, oh, I'm good with this. You know, I'm good at that. You know, I feel good in this area. You know, let's focus on that. You don't see those things. You know, they're gone. It's like the veil's been pulled over that part of your life or those thoughts. But, you know, you try to look for it externally, but it's never there because everything, any peace you ever feel is from within. It's not from without. Found that out a long time ago. And I have had moments of peace, but they're so fleeting. You know, it's like I was telling Mark, he was talking about some of your, you know, spiritual experiences with that you'd had or Max. Max, somebody else you'd interview, or the story of the guy who met the devil.
Oh yeah, Wendell.
You know, and I had things. You know, I remember these things, and I was amazed because so many things I'd forgotten about. That, you know, I was never worthy. I was never in a position of like, oh, I'm so worthy to receive these blessings right now, to have God intervene or interject His Holy Spirit into me and recognize it as such in the moment. And every time those things happened, and there's quite a few. I mean, not hundreds or anything like that, but there's quite a few where I was never worthy. I was never in a position of worthiness ever in my life when those kinds of things happened. And then I was telling Mark, I said, those kinds of things, you know, knowing this, it should carry me through this hard time. You know, it should carry me through, but it never does. You know, it's like I've got this puzzle of 1,000 pieces and it's missing a piece. In order to complete the puzzle, I've got to put this one last piece in, and I can never find that piece. You know, one little piece that's missing.
That's exactly where you were at 30 days ago. You know, you were thinking and contemplating about that. Even used that analogy, I think, in the first interview.
Did I?
I believe so. And then you're thinking about that, and then you start having this conversation with Cindy about it because you're in a contemplative mode. And then that was only a day or two after our interview. And now 30 days have gone by, and it's almost like it's all in this foggy past again, and you've forgotten everything you were thinking about.
Well,
right?
I haven't forgotten it. You know, it just doesn't carry the same weight. It's like when you're thirsty and you get a drink of water, you know you're going to be thirsty later and you don't have any water to drink. But you remember you had water earlier, you know, and it was good. You know, that's great. But what about right now? Yeah. Those moments of suicide when I did attempt, you know, those 3 times, like legit, not the time when I was 6 years old because I didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, I remember praying to God, where are you? You know, I'm going to do this. Please, you know. Send that little butterfly and have it land on my shoulder. I don't need an angel to come down and shoot lightning out of his eyes.
But remember the last time he did it, right? Or no, every time he did it. He let you go through with it, but he saved you every time.
Every time.
So that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's the butterfly. No, you're alive.
I am alive, but you come out of those things and you think, you know, seriously, you know, I set this up. Why am I still here? You know, what are the chances of this happening? What are the chances of that happening to be discovered? You know, and you don't think about those things in the moment. But yeah, in retrospect, you know, I mean, I see your point. Yeah,
that's the miracle.
Point.
Well, actually, that was your point to Cindy, is that you felt like, if I remember what you were saying, is you're like, look, it's not about my mind, it's about my spirit.
Right.
And you were saying that maybe the Lord had given me the sign that I had been asking for, and He wasn't going to give me another sign until I started acting on what I'd already received. This is the contemplative mode you were in 30 days ago. And it's just kind of vanished.
Yeah, it's gone. I mean, it's there, but it's gone. You know, the weight that it carried.
Because you remember you were talking about Enos, and then you said, well, okay, forget about Enos, because there was this controversy about whether or not he was a good or a wicked man. You said, use Laman and Lemuel. We know about them. Remember that?
Yeah.
And you said that angels came down and appeared to them.
Multiple times.
And why? These were wicked people. Remember that?
Right.
And then your conclusion was, maybe I've already had those things. And so I need to start experiencing instead of waiting.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. But then experiencing, I don't know how. I mean, that's where I'm at now. That's why I'm where I'm at now, is because I don't know how to experience those things. You know, I'm at a complete loss, you know, because with my physical limitations and being so isolated all the time and feeling like such a burden on the people, you know, who I live with, you know, you and Cindy and even Isaac, you know.
Wait, are you a writer? Do I remember that or no? Am I confused?
Yeah, kind of.
You write?
Yeah, kind of.
That's awesome. That will come in handy. for this mission. Seriously.
He's already got plans for you.
Okay, well, I'm glad somebody does.
That's it for this episode of Bridge the Gap.
Truth seekers,